Welcome to Hoda's Career Info. I am your host, Hoda Kilani, career and academic coach at Right Career Fit. Coaching is all about storytelling. I put this series together to share stories of inspiring people from across the globe. I hope their stories motivate you to envision your story, discover your road to success, or recast your path. I also hope that you love these stories as much as I do. Our guest today is a career services leader and a global voice in resume writing and coaching, John Suarez.
But you don't have to have everything figured out, but just figure out that next step. Let's sit down, let's talk about it. If you can define what that next step is, then you can break it down and say, well, maybe you need to think about this, this, and this to get there. You have to be willing at any given point in time, no matter where you're at in your career, to be a student again. Find somebody you trust, find somebody that you feel comfortable talking with, because it becomes different the moment you share it with somebody else.
I appreciate you joining Hoda's Career Info, your career program where guests from across the globe share career tips and personal stories to help you successfully navigate your career. Watch, listen, and learn. Remember, like, subscribe, share, and follow me, Hoda Kilani, on social media for more career info. More importantly, make sure you have that very important career conversation with a career professional. Our guest today, John Suarez, is a career services leader, an educator, and a global voice in resume writing and coaching. As the director of the Fundamentals program for the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches, his bulletproof methodology has reached students in 46 states and 31 countries. John currently serves as the Career Services Coordinator at Southwestern Illinois College, where he leads a team dedicated to empowering students, alumni, and professionals through career transitions, job placement, and strategic career planning. In 2024, John Suarez was honored by the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches with the Lifetime Achievement Award for his contributions to the resume writing profession, spanning more than 30 years. Passionate about career development, personal branding, and the future of job search strategy, John continues to shape the industry through online training, mentorship, and a monthly newsletter column for writing and coaching professionals. Join me as John shares his career journey and the lessons he learned along the way. Welcome, John Suarez, to Hoda's Career Info. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Hoda. Excited to be here.
Me too. I've known you for a long time and what you present, so I know today is going to be a fun episode. I'm going to hit you with the first question, John, which is what is one term that describes the work that you do? And then how would you define it from your perspective?
We have to narrow it down to one term. I would say career readiness, which I would define as the ability to move from point A to point B in any given job market. It looks different for everyone. It involves a lot of different tools and a lot of different skill sets. The emphasis in my work has always focused on coaching and resume writing, but I work in academia now, so sometimes it's just, a student sometimes looking for their first job, right? Just a first part-time job even. You can compare and contrast that to, say, for instance, a senior level executive who's recently been, laid off from their position looking to move into another executive role. The whole idea of career readiness has been central, even in those moments where a defined career path isn't really there, but just getting ready for whatever that next move is. I would say that's been the real focus of my career.
I appreciate this term and I appreciate how you define it, one point to the next point, and not talking about these long-term goals that we all know do change as we
Oh yeah.
grow. And
They change sometimes on purpose and sometimes not on purpose, right? But it's changing faster these days. So the agility piece is probably more of a thing today than it was, say, 20 years ago.
I agree. In the past, you would get into a company and work in it for 30, 40 years and then retire. But we
Yeah,
are
those are
rarely.
few and far between nowadays. Yeah.
I'm going to take you to the next question, John, and I'm going to put you on the spot by asking you to share a personal story. And within that story is send a message to the audience that you'd like to send by being here on this program.
It's interesting because as central as career readiness has been in terms of the work that I do, my story is really about a guy who went to junior college with zero career aspiration, graduated with zero career aspirations, completed my undergrad 10 years later with very little career direction. So I went to grad school with very little career direction. And the whole time I was dancing with this not knowingness of what I was going to do with all this stuff from a career perspective. I was accumulating some very important pieces that would help me along the way. Education, one of them, writing skills and networking and that kind of stuff. And it took me a long time to realize that, there's a lot of different paths up the mountain, but my journey was going to be unique. And I was building what they call now a portfolio career instead of a traditional one, just focusing on doing things that I enjoyed doing, which is interesting from the perspective of people coming to me now, paying me money to help them navigate they want this clear definition of a career path. And they're talking to somebody who never had one. In fact, when I was in graduate school, I remember very early on in grad school, one of the professors asked, what are you going to do with your shiny new master's degree? And one of the gentlemen in my cohort said, I want to be the director of marketing for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I went, oh my God, the clarity there is I'm so envious of you. How did you do that? How do you know what you want to do? And I don't remember what I said when it was my turn to answer, but I didn't know. I said something, but I don't remember what it was. And I really didn't know. But the important thing was, what was I doing all this time while I didn't know? I was building on skills that would be useful. I didn't necessarily know how. So that's been a recurring theme, and just as valid a way to navigate a career as it is to say, I'm going to be an accountant and I'm going to go to school and get my degree and then I get my CPA and then I'm going to go work for a CPA firm. That's great if you know it. But if you don't, how do you navigate point A to point B? I think there's a lot of room in there for, reflection, for studying the market, for knowing thyself, for all that stuff. And so the message to me is as I now work in that very same community college that I graduated from with zero clue as what I wanted to do, I have this deep, deep compassion for those people who are now walking those same halls and don't know what they want to do. And one of my messages to them is it's okay if you don't know, but you can't do nothing. What are you going to do? Well, where are we going to take where's your point B? It doesn't matter if it's like the last step, and you don't have to have everything figured out, but just figure out that next step. Let's sit down, let's talk about it. And so there's always room to talk about what that next step looks like, and oftentimes it's really, really helpful to do that.
Again, I love your focus on that next step because it can get overwhelming, especially for young people.
I wouldn't be surprised if next week I go to work and I'm talking to one of those young people. And the truth of the matter is, until I do a little digging, I don't really know if I'm talking to them or if I'm talking to their mom and dad who are telling them we want you to go down this direction. Right? It takes a minute for people to develop their own identity that way, and sometimes they're just doing what mom and dad are telling them, which is fine. But that next step doesn't have to be logical. It's got to be a next step. It's just got to here. And if you can define what that next step is, then you can break it down and say, well, maybe you need to think about this, this, and this to get there. But it's an interesting perspective because even the people who are really, really sure about their direction, sometimes there's just a little bit of doubt in there too, right? They know what to say. I'm going to go this way and this way, but they don't really know what that means in terms of the career choice that they're making. And so, again, it's helpful to have some perspective to navigate all those steps. And there's just so many different ways to look at things now.
John, if I was to take you back in time to that time when you were studying in college,
Hmm.
would you say you were nonchalant about it, enjoying the learning process? Or was there that pressure to say, I got to figure out what to do?
It was both. I did feel like everybody else had a pretty good idea where they were going with this thing. And I was open to it. I was receptive to it. I was like, okay, I'm ready for the lightning to strike. Like when I went to complete my 4 year education and I decided to major in communication and minor in journalism because that's what I like. I was ready for that lightning bolt to hit me as far as career direction goes. I was open to it, and it sure seemed like everybody else had a clue, and it just never really hit me until I was almost finished with my undergraduate stuff, and I took a training and development class. I didn't even know what it was when I signed up for it, but very early on in that class, I was like, "Oh, this is something I could really pursue." I had my little moment, but my undergraduate studies were just about done. So I said, "Well, I better keep going then. I better keep going to grad school and take this training development focus and bring that with me to graduate school." So that's what I did, but I still didn't really have a clear picture of, okay, so if you pursue that route, what does that mean from an employment standpoint? I still had a lot of learning to do, with that, but I was just following my muse and following what I liked, and was pretty confident that a direction would emerge. But when you're right there in the middle of kind of like a liberal arts education, it's not defined. You have to figure out how to define it. So if you want to major in communication, that's fine, but communication isn't a job. You have to figure out how you're going to use that communication. So it was always a place for me where I felt like everybody knew, everybody had a clue, everybody had a direction, and I didn't. But I did like school, and I did like learning, and I did like the educational environment. So I was okay with it from that perspective, especially as you got to study more and more things in your major. So it was all communication stuff, a little bit of journalism stuff too. So I enjoyed that. But yeah, it was very frustrating not having that clarity of focus that I felt like everybody else had. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but it sure felt like. So it's mostly pressure from myself, right? I wanted to figure it out. And of course, my friends, my family were like, "John, you got to figure this out." I know, I know, I know. I'm trying. I'm working at it, but it's been an interesting path and just not nearly as defined as some other people's paths. I felt like I was at a little bit of a disadvantage there. It turns out, it worked out okay.
I appreciate you sharing that part of the story as well to show them that it can work out. It will work out too in a way that you will enjoy at the end.
Yes, there's always, the unknown twists and turns and stuff like that. But for those people who are pursuing, majors where the end goal is not very well defined, that's okay. I mean, enjoy the pursuit. That's where you're at. That's where you're at in that moment, and just get the most out of it that you can and figure the rest out later. But it helps if you enjoy the journey, right? And so I really did. I really did enjoy that. That part was easy. Staying in school and just draping myself with more skills and knowledge. That was fine. But yeah, I wanted to be like them. I wanted to know, and I just didn't. And what's interesting about that, Hoda, is the whole time that exploration piece was going on, and I was not knowing, I was working in the career services field. I was writing resumes and doing coaching. So it's right there. I was doing it. I just never thought of it as a career. It was like something I was doing until I figured things out. Little did I know I was elevating my craft as well.
Well, now you've been doing it for some time, and
Yeah,
when
a
you
little
talk
bit.
about it, when you talk about it, I can feel your passion when I see you present at conferences. Both of us are member of PARWCC, but you've been a member much longer than I have been since 1993. And you are the creator and administrator of the fundamentals of the resume writing program.
That is true.
What can you tell us about this program and what is unique about your approach as a facilitator of this program?
Yeah, the fundamentals program was born in 2019, and it's mostly for people that are trying to get certified in resume writing through CPRW, to get their CPRW credential, Certified Professional Resume Writer, through the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches. But really, it's for anyone that wants to make sure that what they're doing in 2025, at least the fundamentals that are considered best practices in 2025, are present in their work, whether they're working with college kids or whether they're working with military transition or whether they're working with senior level people. If they want to learn how to make sure that those fundamental principles are in play, then that's a decent program. But it was really set up for those people who are looking to get certified, because when people raise their hand and say, yes, yes, I want to be a certified resume writer, we have no way of knowing, do you have any experience? Did you just roll out of bed and decide you wanted to be a certified resume writer? Have you written five? Have you written 500? Have you written? We don't know. And so we thought, well, there'd be nice to have a vehicle where you could talk about not just the principles that go into the construction of a resume, but to actually practice, to get some reps in actual writing and get some feedback from somebody who can help you achieve that goal of getting certified. What's unique about my approach as the facilitator of the program is that, first of all, I'm a writer. There's a lot of those, but I am currently writing myself and have been for a long time. I'm also a grader of other people's work who are trying to get certified. It's all done anonymously, so I don't have any way of knowing if they're actual students of mine or not, and they don't have any way of knowing who's doing the actual grading. There's a whole team of people that grade those certifications, but I can approached it from that perspective, a writer, a grader. I'm also an educator. I have been in college classrooms since 1992, I think, is when I started doing adjunct work. So I really approach resume writing from an educator's perspective. Um, and then fourthly, I think what's unique about my approach is that I recognize that there's a lot of different ways to approach resume writing, and I recognize that the people that choose to do this, they have so varied backgrounds, all of which is valuable. So a lot of times when people seek instruction for this sort of thing, what they get is you need to do this my way. It's a kind of a my way or the highway type of thing. And I try really hard to not be that guy. Your way is valuable and it's different from mine, and your perspective is different from mine. And I honor that. Now, if you're serious about getting certified, let me talk to you about what you're doing and how a grading team might perceive that as something that's going to help you get certified or not. But it doesn't have to be my way. And I think those four things together, being a writer, a grader, an educator, and a student of different approaches, really gives anybody in the fundamentals program all the tools that they need to perform well under the lens of a certification exam. You know, as hard as resume writing is as a discipline, teaching it has been just an incredibly challenging endeavor for me because everybody approaches it a little bit different. So I have to teach you this. And then the next student will come along and they've got this part down, but they need to work on this. And so being able to develop different ways to reach different people to develop certain skills has really been challenging. I really enjoy that part of it because it's a lot more than just, hey, you know what? Here's these 5 rules. Apply these 5 rules to your work, and you'll be good. It's a little bit more involved than that, a little bit more nuanced than that. So that's what really makes up my unique approach as a facilitator to this program.
John, do they get one-on-one with you as well?
Mhm. Yeah, they do. I'm usually working with 2 or 3 people at any given time. I recently talked to a student I believe she's in Washington, D.C., and has been a fundamental student for a couple years and has said, I really wanted to do this, and then life got in the way, and then I really wanted to do this, and then life got in the way. But now I'm serious. Now I really want to do this thing. And so I'm working on a kind of a boot camp program based on that. So for her, but I also want to open it up to other people to create kind of like a 10-week boot camp program and walk through certain steps of construction, resume construction, with hopefully a small cohort of people, all of whom probably have that same goal in mind to get certified in resume writing.
And would it also work to someone who is certified but looking for a refresher course?
So I got certified in 93. Little different game today than 93. I catalog all my work on an annual basis and I keep on my shelf like the last 3 years of work that I've done in 3 ring binders. And the reason it's 3 years is because when I look back at the work that I was doing, even in 2021 and 2022, I look at it and go, oh, it's different. I can tell I wouldn't have done that today. I would have done it differently. So just even after 30 years of doing this, just looking back 3 or 4 years, I see the changes in and not just my writing style, but the response to people's reading styles. That's why the writing has changed. And so if you got certified in, say, 2010, 2015, and then decided for whatever reason to stop learning, you're probably behind the eight ball. It doesn't mean you're not doing good work, and it doesn't mean you're not serving clients. It just means, yeah, you probably could benefit from some refresher course if you don't actively seek it out. So it's available for them as well.
That's perfect, John, and congratulations on this new innovative idea.
It's been really rewarding. I have students in 31 countries, and just the idea that there's, somebody in Singapore, using some of my instruction to help get them to their point B, whatever it is. That's really exciting.
Very, very cool. And I know that even in the Arab world, like in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, there are a lot of CPRW certified.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because it's one of the things that really kind of emphasizes the importance of alliances, because I don't think had I approached this on my own and just done this on my own, I mean, LinkedIn is a global platform as well, but when you have a partnership like I have with PARWCC, you expand your reach and you expand your credibility just based on the focus of the organization. That's been a really, really good alliance for me. And it's a powerful alliance because I attribute that reach not just internationally, but I think I'm in 45, 46 states now. I don't know if I'll ever get those last four, but yeah, that's not me. That's the strength of a partnership with a national organization right there.
The Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches, I am a member of it and got certified through it as well. Definitely is a great association. I find it's easy to talk to everyone and reach out to people within the association, and they will be there for me to support me. I have had a very good experience with that.
Yeah, I'm really glad to hear that because, like I said, those of us that were there on the ground floor, that's how it was built. Just built on that generosity of spirit and that whole professional development vibe. That has to be maintained, even though, you can have online and robust conversations with your colleagues every day of the week now. But when we first started having those annual conferences, that was the only time we saw each other. That was the only time we got to be in the same room with each other. And it was important that sharing of what are you people do, what are you doing? What are you doing on the West Coast? Because I'm not going to talk to you again until next year this time. And so that spirit, I don't know whether people realize how important it was in terms of getting this organization off the ground. But it's great to see that that's maintained.
With LinkedIn, we're definitely reaching out to each other more, and it's much
Yeah.
easier. Like you in the States, me in Canada, we can talk. Now we see LinkedIn, so that's the benefit of LinkedIn and other social media platforms. But also on these social media platforms, we are seeing people sharing expertise all about resume writing. We see free platforms as well. But at the same time, I see topics saying that resumes are dead because people can access you on LinkedIn and they can find and learn more about you. What are your thoughts on these ideas that are going on social media?
Well, they're not dead because people keep asking for them. So they're definitely not dead, but there's a lot more to the job search landscape now than there was when you consider all the digital pieces. What I find most interesting about that is not so much the introduction of all the new digital tools that are available and avenues that are all viable ways of doing careers and finding work and stuff. But this whole notion of resumes being dead, that's been around for as long as I've been in the business. They've been saying they're good dying. They're gonna be dead. And you know what? That day might be coming, but it's not now. They're still very much alive because people are still asking for them. And uh, so yeah, whether it's a digital resume or, I mean, the actual piece of paper, that might be a little bit dead. Back in the day when we would work with clients, we had 10, 15 different types of paper samples, and they would walk out with hard copies of their resume. And nowadays, it's entirely possible to conduct a whole job search campaign and never really have a piece of paper involved. It's all digitally transmitted, it's all digitally consumed. And so you may never have a piece of paper involved, but the resume itself, they're still asking for it. They're still saying, hey, tell us a story about why we should hire you. And there's still a vehicle for that, whether it's digital or paper. So, yeah, they're not dead. The talk of their death has been around for a long time, but I still see it as a pretty viable tool for recruiting.
Thank you for your thoughts and sharing this because sometimes we get carried away. You see things online and we go, I wonder how true that is.
Well, there are people out there for whom I guess the resume is dead. And if they're navigating their world without it, that's cool. I don't have a problem with that. But the resume itself sure seems to be a pretty popular way to get information in front of people. So, yeah, it's still around.
I agree. And there are a lot of employers for me. When I support my young clients, they are asking for the resume. So still
Sure.
need to have
Something.
that resume.
Yeah, and the other thing is too, from a coaching perspective, we spend a lot of time talking to people about those strategies that don't necessarily involve a resume and traditional job search type of things, the networking strategies, the how do you approach somebody, internally in a company. And maybe it's not about, going on Indeed and finding jobs and applying for jobs. It's not like that. And so I get that. That's fine, and that's a viable way of finding work. But there sure seems to be you don't have to work very hard to go. You can just go on LinkedIn and look at the jobs on LinkedIn, and there's a little button there that says you can it says easy apply or whatever it is. So yeah, you could do that. But a lot of them still say, hey, send a resume to this person at this email address. So it's still in play.
John, I've come to the last question. Just to give the audience an idea of what stepping out of one's comfort zone looks like, do you mind sharing what you're hoping to accomplish soon or in the near future where you're stepping out of that comfort zone?
Well, my comfort zone is getting smaller and smaller. So it's real easy to step out of my comfort zone because I spend so much time just kind of focused and my world gets smaller and smaller. And I like that. And as much as I am okay with the whole stepping out of your comfort zone thing, more often than not, because of the way my career has progressed, I find myself advising people to step into their comfort zone, especially in those areas where you're not quite sure where it's going. To just keep leaning into that which you're passionate about. So even if you don't know where it's going from a career perspective, lean into that which you are comfortable with. I'm okay with stepping out of your comfort zone from time to time and trying new things, but there's a big difference between choosing a major in college and choosing a career path. And if I'm choosing a major, I'm leaning into my comfort zone as hard as I can. Everything I don't know is going to be out of my comfort zone. And as you get older, you get more comfortable saying, well, okay, I'll try this, I'll try that. I'm about to take one of the new coaching programs through PRW. And so you have to be willing at any given point in time, no matter where you're at in your career, to be a student again, to see things through, a student's eyes and be willing to say, you know what, as much expertise as I have, I'm going to walk in the room as if I have nothing and just kind of put a blank canvas in front of me and start learning all over again, especially when you realize that the lifespan of an idea these days is so much shorter than it used to be, right? So that's not like stepping out of my comfort zone, but it's a willingness to bring in new information and a willingness to learn new ideas and stuff like that. I'm also just fascinated by this whole artificial intelligence wave that's happening in just about every industry and its direct application to the career services industry. So I'm not a techie type of guy, but I really love getting into this AI space and experimenting with it. And I think career services practitioners in particular have to embrace that and figure out ways to incorporate it in the products and services that we represent. And so for a lot of people, it is a source of discomfort. And for whatever reason, it has not been for me. I'm not a master of it by any means, but I am incredibly curious about it, and I do AI things probably every day, and I'm just fascinated by its impact on the industry. And so I'm getting out of my non-technical comfort zone to learn as much as I can. I don't think it's going away anytime soon, so I want to learn how to harness that energy and use it for the best I can for myself and for my clients.
Thank you for sharing this, John. Now that you talked about AI, I have to add one more question. And can you tell us a little bit more about your experience in it and what tips would you give?
Yeah, it's just an incredibly powerful tool, both from a coaching perspective and from a resume writing perspective. Although I can tell you that as tempting as it is to use as a kind of a writing companion, for me, it's been a much more valuable tool, not to create content, because I'm not really crazy about the way it goes about creating content. If you've been paying attention at all, you know that authenticity is under siege, man. People are really high on this authenticity, and so you're learning that there's a real turning away from AI from that perspective, right? So if you want to use AI to create something, that's cool, but you have to figure out how to make it look like it's not AI generated because that's a turnoff to people. So I don't like it from a content creation standpoint, but from an editing standpoint and from a idea generation standpoint, oh, it's a massively fun tool to play with. But we have safeguards, I know, in the resume writing certification process that will help them understand, hey, you know what? This is 80% AI generated, and therefore that's not what we're about. You have to find a way to speak on behalf of your clients in an authentic voice, in a way that AI simply cannot. And so that's an important part of our industry moving forward. And then from a coaching perspective, just the ability to imagine certain scenarios and get feedback of different kind of coaching scenarios and just getting that perspective to inform your own dialogue with certain clients, I think it's just absolutely fascinating. You have to take it for what it is, right? It is artificial intelligence, and there's still a place in this world for real intelligence. That's why people come to career coaches. That's why people use human beings to write resumes for them. And I think that's important. But man, what a robust tool for generating ideas and for proofreading content. It's a shrewd editor, and there's a time and place for that too. So I'm enjoying my relationship with AI, and I'm enjoying finding different ways to make it a useful thing, but I'll never ask it to write something for me. I'll ask it to give me ideas or to edit what I've done.
Fabulous tips. And I appreciate the lens that you're bringing onto it, the authenticity part.
Yeah,
These
it's
were
under
all the
siege. You'll see it all over LinkedIn. You don't have to scroll LinkedIn stories very long to find a story that reflects that, and it makes sense, But when you see stories that from HR people and or just decision makers in general saying we can tell that this was AI generated, tells you that there's people that are, going to use it unsuccessfully because of that. And so it's up to us to really kind of find that balance between how to use it as a productive and positive tool, and when its use is being, is not going to move you to the top of the pile.
John, these were all the questions I had prepared for you today. Was there anything else that you hoped to talk about, but I didn't ask you about that you would like to add?
Yeah, just one thing, and it's picking up on that theme that we started with, the theme of career readiness, right? Just getting from point A to point B, which is a very, very individual decision. But I think a lot of times because of that, people miss out on the team aspect of it. It's a team sport where other perspectives can be exceptionally valuable. So it requires being a little bit vulnerable to that. And I would encourage anybody to remain curious and seek the counsel from other people who might be able to shed light on something that you never really thought about before. And I think about that because, I mean, there was a lot of time there where I was curious about something, but I wasn't really moved to take action on it until I had the sort of relationship that would facilitate that. So, for instance, a financial planner, they're all over the place. They are in some small towns around here, even the small rural communities have three or four because it's so relationship based. But I'm not inclined to use one unless I have a relationship with one, and then maybe something will happen from there. Same thing for me. I was interested in a personal trainer, a personal fitness trainer. And so that thought's alive and living in my head. And yeah, it'd be nice. And I could get a recommendation from somebody, or you can wait until a relationship develops organically. It doesn't matter whichever one you choose, but I'm not likely to engage in a long-term relationship with a personal trainer until I meet one, until I know one, until I have a good sense of who that person is. And I think career people are the same way because it requires you to be vulnerable, it requires you to be, kind of open, almost like finding a mental health counselor sometimes, right? That same type of openness, and you're not gonna do that with just anybody. And I know that there were part of my kind of drifting through life and career planning, part of it was because I was reluctant to talk about that with too many other people. I felt like, this is something I have to do. And now I have a different perspective. I would encourage anybody to, I mean, you can't enlist the help of just anybody, but I would enlist the help of find somebody you trust, find somebody that you feel comfortable talking with because it becomes different the moment you share it with somebody else. There's different elements in play and growth can happen, unexpected turns can happen, all kinds of things can happen. So I would encourage people that, even though it's an individual decision, how can you make career planning or career readiness a team sport? It doesn't have to be a big team, but it's more powerful as a team sport.
I like this message actually because I was on Instagram a couple of days ago and this coach was promoting that we teach you how to do it alone. I appreciate you reminding me that I was on the right track in my thinking. You need to have that kind of support.
Yeah, it's an individual decision, but it's a team sport. And think about your own career and how other people have played an instrumental role, even if it was just to open a door that you didn't even know was there, right? And so those opportunities you get more exposed to when you decide to make it a team sport. I think that's really important because I went through school, three different schools, maybe even four, I don't believe I set foot in the career services office at any one of those schools, except for like when I had to, maybe, or whatever. I did not enlist their help. I was on this, solo journey, and I needed a Sherpa. I should have enlisted the help of a Sherpa to climb this mountain because it's a little easier that way, right? So I would encourage people to, I mean, you can't enlist the help of just anyone, but build a team.
What a wonderful message for us to wrap up our conversation today, John. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me.
I appreciate the opportunity, and really hope there was something useful there for somebody. And the careers industry has always been about people helping other people. So that was the intent here.
This is it for Hoda's Career Info, the program where career professionals from across the globe join me to empower you to succeed. Our guest today on Hoda's Career Info was career services leader and the global voice in resume writing and coaching, John Suarez. You can connect with John on LinkedIn. In this episode, John shared his interesting career path and reminded you that it's okay if you don't know, but you can't do nothing. What are you going to do? Where is your point B? He asked. It doesn't matter if it's not the last step. You don't have to have everything figured out, but just figure out that next step. And my question to you today, can you clearly describe your next step? Comment and share your thoughts and experiences. Remember that you can watch Hoda's Career Info on YouTube. You can also listen to the episode on your favorite podcast app. To let me know if you are interested in an opportunity to talk about your work, you can send me a direct message on my website, rightcareerfit.com, where you can also sign up for my newsletter to stay up to date on the latest episodes. Please like, subscribe, share, and follow me, Hoda Kilani, on social media. Together, let's increase career info. I am your host, Hoda. Until next time, take the time to pause, reflect, and celebrate what you have achieved.